Well, hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all fighting fit and well. Look, today I want to talk to you about printing your images and why that is a very, very good idea for you to print your images. Now, before I start this, it's more of a question really. What do you do with your images after you've put all the hard work and effort, the finances in buying all the good equipment? What do you do with your images when you're finished taking them and finishing doing the edit process? Most people I know put them in Lightroom catalogs, or they take them off the computer and put them in a hard drive, or they even store them on a phone. If you fall into that category, well then I suggest you listen up, because this video is mainly for you. What you do, or what do you do with your prints? Now, before I go down that road, I want to tell you about how I became involved in photography and what happened to me along the way. I will try not to bore you to tears, but I'll make it as quick as possible. In 1973, I received a camera for Christmas. Now, most of my mates and friends at school got cricket bats, bikes and skateboards and footballs. I got a camera. Maybe my parents knew something. And that camera was a 35mm Yashica SLR and print film camera, 35mm. No digital back, no program, no auto, no aperture priority, no shutter priority, nothing. It was totally manual operation. And at the age of 10, I had no idea what photography was. I had just completely no idea. After a couple of years of running around with that camera, I soon realised that this can be quite an expensive exercise. In other words, I was buying, or my parents were buying me roll film. It was 12 or 24 shots at the time, and black and white they were. And I still love black and white photography, especially with street photography and sometimes in landscapes. But I quickly realised as I got a bit older, running around with this camera, that I had to be very selective with what I was photographing, because at the beginning I was going out and taking photos of everything I could see. And in some ways that's probably helped my photography these days. So moving forward rather quickly, 3 years later, when I was 13 years of age, I still had the Yashica 35mm with a 35mm lens on that Yashica camera, and I went and got a paperboy round. In other words, after school, 5 days a week, I'd go to the local newsagents, I'd pick up my little barrow, and I'd go around the streets selling newspapers. Then I'd do that on the weekends as well, Saturday morning and Sunday morning. And along with the $10 a week, I think $12 a week I was earning then, plus the tips from the neighbours, over a period of time I had enough money to buy more equipment. But I didn't go out and buy a new camera, because I didn't think I needed one at that stage. Then 3 years later, at the age of 16, I still had this Yashica camera and the 35mm lens, and I was still buying canister film or roll film 35mm negatives. That's what they were. And in them days, after we finished taking the photographs, we took the little canister of film to our local chemist. And then the chemist would send it away to a lab, and we'd wait 5 days to get our images back, or our photos back, and then we'd put them in some sort of photo album, which people don't do these days. They leave them on a computer where nobody can see them. This is the story. So I went into that chemist to pick up some film, and inside this chemist they had a small camera store. And in the camera store, they had various cameras, and, you know, digital really hadn't come on board at that stage. And I noticed in the corner of this camera shop was all this bottles of liquid, and it looked like a machine, it looked like a projector like we had at school, and there was trays and plastic tongs and things, and paper. And it was Ilford paper and Ilford chemicals. And I asked the guy behind, I'll never forget this, I asked the bloke behind the counter, "What's that?" And he said, "That's so you can develop your own photos." I said, "Develop your own photos?" He said, "Yes, develop your own photos." So I had enough money to buy this. and it cost me $142 to buy this whole kit. So I purchased this kit and I went home and I said to my mother and father, can I turn the bathroom, the family bathroom, into a dark room? Now at this stage I still had no idea what I was doing. Because there was no internet, there was no YouTube, no Facebook, there was just books. So I started reading books on developing your own negatives. So I knew I'd had the right equipment. So reluctantly my parents let me convert the bathroom, the family bathroom, into a dark room. And I had black curtains and tape and it was completely dark inside the bathroom. And so I set up all my equipment, the projector, I think that's what they still call them these days. I had the trays full of chemical and I'd put a string line from the shower head to the window so I could hang my prints. I knew I had to do that. So I experimented with this and then reality hit me, and it was a good reality. And this is where my photography, this is where I learned photography, quite frankly. I had taken a photo, I can't even remember what it was, and I took this photo and I exposed the image underneath the light, and I had a red light in the corner so I could see what I was doing, but it wasn't exposing the negatives. So once I exposed the negative and I put it in the tray of chemical, before my eyes this image just appeared and I thought, that's it, this is how you do it. So the image appeared in front of me, I took it out of the chemical, put it in the next tray to wash it, and then I hung it up. And I kept on doing that. And each time I got to do that, I became more excited with photography, and I thought, this is the way to go. Why am I spending money having someone else print my images when I could do this myself with black and white? So moving forward to today, I still have my images printed. I went out on the weekend, you might have seen the last video. 2 of those images now are in the printer. I have a relationship with a professional lab and they've been very good to me, and I've been financially very good to them. And if there's something wrong with the image, they will call me and I'll go and have a look. But I believe that this is the best way to improve your photography, and that is to print your images. Not all of them, but print your best ones. Because with a printed image, it shows that you really respect your work and you really respect the craft of photography. You're very proud of the work that you do. Also too, if you're just taking photos for low resolution images for social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, that's okay, you're a good photographer. But if you enlarge those images, that's a different skill set, and that's something you have to learn if you want to start printing your own images, whether you do it at home on a nice big printer or you find a professional lab. I believe in printing your own images. Now, I have probably over 600 images printed here. They're all in folders. Some of them are in frames. Now, in my home here, I have images that I've captured and I've framed them, all different sizes. And every 3 months I change them. I put new ones up and take the old ones down. A bit like an art gallery, really, my home. But to print your images, you're taking yourself to another level. So I think I've said in previous videos that if you go out with the mindset that I've only got 12 shots to get right, because at least 2 of those images I want to print, you automatically have the correct mindset to make sure everything is perfect. Because to blow images up or to enlarge images, it's a different skill set. You have to make sure that you know exactly what the photography triangle is, the light, how it works with aperture and ISO. So to print your images if you start printing your images, it will improve your photography tenfold. Now, people have their images stored on computers and hard drives, and I have too, but I've printed a lot of photos, and I'm in the process of putting together what I call a coffee table book, where it's titled Waterfalls of the Blue Mountains, and that's in the printers now. It's a 60-page book, beautifully embossed on the it's a hardcover, but beautifully embossed on the front and back and the inside front cover. So I can show that to people. I can take it with me every day and show people. Because if you're going out and taking all these marvellous images, and there's some great photographers in this world, but they just don't show their images. How do you show them? Be proud of your work. But printing your images will elevate you from good to great. It'll take a bit of time, but just concentrate on thinking, right, I'm going out this weekend. I know exactly what I want to photograph. I know how to do it. I know the mechanics of my camera, but I've got to make sure that everything's right because I'm going to print this image so everybody can see it. And as I said, printing your images, it lifts you as a photographer, and it also makes you feel very proud. When I get out of bed every morning, I walk down the hallway and I stop and look at my images and I think, I remember when I took that, it was a really, really cold day, or geez, that one was a hell of a walk in and a bigger walk out. It reinvigorates you as a photographer if you print your images. So printing your images has many, many benefits. There is a couple of downsides. If printing can be expensive, it all depends what size you go to. Frames are very expensive. I suggest if you're going to go down this path of printing your images and you want framing, get in touch and form a business relationship with a picture framer and also a printer. Some people do it in-house altogether, print and frame. I use two separate people. I have a cabinet maker that makes my frames for me out of the timber that I want and the colour of the staining to match the image. And yeah, look, and the printer is very, very good. He's been printing a lot of my images for many years, and he's like a friend of mine now. But printing your images is so important. I think you can't go wrong. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, printing your images. If you aren't printing them, why aren't you? And I hope what I've put through here today that you can take away and think about next time you go out with your camera. Maybe I should print a couple of these pictures or images so I can show people and show them that I'm very proud and show people what you're actually capable of doing with that marvellous thing we call our camera. So that's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. If you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next door so you don't miss anything. Next weekend, where am I next week? Oh no, just this week. I'm going back to Botany Bay, part 2 of the video from last week. Hopefully there won't be as many people there and it's a low tide and I can get under the bridge. So keep an eye out for that part 2 Bear Island video. And that's it. So as I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting, you keep smiling, and bye for now.